Welcome into the Sports Buffoons Podcast. Yo, let's get it going off there, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. Welcome on in once again to the Sports Buffoon Studios here out at Lenexa, Kansas. Well, Tanner, what happened to our intro? What happened to the normal intro?
I'm working on it.
He's working on an intro. It's been a couple weeks.
We gotta recalibrate some things.
I don't know. I always liked the original intro.
It's cool. But
should we bring back the old Godfather intro, Tanner, or the the pimpin'? Come aboard the whole train. Only the OG fans out there would know about that.
They
one.
wouldn't know. They wouldn't know.
Those were the good old days before copyright and all that kind of stuff.
The intro is different because he's still hungover from the weekend, which all of our all-night benders that we had, it kind of screwed him up a little bit.
It's been the same intro now for 3 weeks. So
yeah, he's been working on it for 3 weeks. Let's talk about an IT technician.
I've been busy, guys.
He's been busy.
He's been busy with his all-night benders.
Getting drunk in Oklahoma, I guess. He's been doing. Look at him shaking. He's
busy guy. He's a busy guy.
Anyways, you guys, how you guys feeling today? You guys feeling good on a Wednesday?
Good.
Feel great, man. Feel great.
Yeah. So Tanner's feeling tired. You're feeling a little tired.
No, I don't feel that tired, man. I feel great.
Long days at work.
We were able to extract so much money from these fucking casinos over the weekend that, how can you be tired, man? You just want to celebrate every fucking day.
No, I'm happy with the situation overall, but I'm a little tired too, I would say, but that's probably from standing around on a roof for hours on end. But that's a different story that we'll talk about a different day.
That would do it.
Anyways, I'm thinking about the time of year we're in, and obviously it's middle of June, getting towards the late June, and there's not a lot going on in sports. We have the College World Series going on.
Yep.
If you care about that, that's cool, I guess.
That's been exciting.
NBA is obviously over. We got the off season going on. NFL doesn't start up for another month before we get to training camps, all that kind of stuff. Right now we have some baseball right now, but here in Kansas City, you might see behind us we have some banners hanging up and this and that, but it's not exactly a fun time to be a baseball fan in Kansas City right now. So to me, I was just like, man, what do we do with our time? What do we do with ourselves? And we could go to Oklahoma and get drunk if you want. You can, wake up and start drinking margaritas if you want. Whatever's going to, take the time away from what we're going through at the moment, the sports withdrawal of what we're dealing with. And anyways, it got me thinking, the last thing I want to be doing is watching stupid Royals games. Watching Royals games, each day in, day out. When you do get a win, it's 1-0. Isn't that a fun game? And when you get a loss, it's 7-2. So that's what we deal with here in Kansas City. But so my first thought was, I don't know how many games you guys have watched personally this season, but I would say I could probably count on one hand a full game.
You can't really watch it unless you go to a bar. So
that's true. It's also hard to watch.
I don't go to
Royals games.
Only time I see it is when we're out for dinner for the hour.
Valley Sports. Somehow baseball has made it really hard to watch your hometown team.
MLB and Valley.
And I was thinking, what would be our top 5 things we'd rather be doing than watching the Royals? And I was just kind of curious what your guys' input would be.
It's interesting. Go ahead, Jason.
Yeah, it's a great question. To your first point about this being really the shittiest part of the year in terms of being a sports fan, let me just tell you how bad it is. So, I'm a big NBA guy, so it's obviously boring, but it's not too terribly boring for me as an NBA fan because, well, number one, I'm a Spurs fan, so I'm getting really excited about Victor Wembanyama. But also, you got the draft and free agency coming up and all that good stuff. But just to give you an example of how boring this time of year is for sports, I don't even bet on sports, guys. I give you guys advice, and I'm generally, 60% right on my easy money bets. But I'll tell you how bored I was the other day. I was so fucking bored that I got a free $5 bet to bet MGM. And I placed a bet on table tennis. That's how fucking depressing this time of year is in sports. I couldn't find anything better to do with my time. And I lost the bet. So what's more depressing, that I made the bet on a match of table tennis or the fact that I lost the bet? Anyway, that's neither here nor there. Start with our top 5 list. So I'll just throw one out at you. So one of my favorite things to do when the Royals are shitty and I can't watch them on TV is just kind of travel back in time and think about things that I used to do and bring it back to my present life. So, when I was in my 20s, I would often go on walks and, just kind of walk around, see the neighborhood, things like that. So that would be the first thing.
I do that. I do that.
Just go for it. Tanner
Almost-
likes to walk
Yeah.
every
once
morning.
a week, man. Once a week.
He likes to go for a walk.
I walk for 3 miles.
But
So-
a good time to take your walk would be during a Royals game.
Yeah.
That way
time.
that time is allotted.
Walk
towards-
around, see the neighborhood. So my second favorite thing would obviously be I haven't accomplished this yet, but it's something it's kind of a pipe dream. If I could figure out a way to build up my comps at a casino so that I could play for free for the rest of my life at the casino without any risk whatsoever.
on your comps.
Just strictly on comps.
That'd be
If I
pretty
could
crazy.
just play for
Yeah.
free, it's never going to
That'd be
happen.
wild.
Never going to happen. And I've never heard of anybody that could do something like that. But it's just kind of an idea that I thought as kind of a pipe dream. It would be pretty cool if somebody could do that.
You know how much money you'd have to spend on food to get free for life comp play, on the table games or whatever? Because they're just like, well, what else are we gonna be? We're paying you to be here. You better be eating out your ass, at the restaurants in town. So I don't know. I don't know about that one. I think that'd be too good. I mean, I'd rather
It's too good to be true, man.
you'd probably rather do that than watch a Chiefs game. So man, that might be too easy.
Depends on who they're playing. If they're playing a shitball team, then yes. But if it's a legitimate game that actually against a team that has a chance, still going to watch the Chiefs.
Well, I decided one of mine would be, and my girlfriend might love this idea, but watching The Bachelorette. I think I'd rather watch the goddamn Bachelorette than watch any of the bums on the pitch, the Royals go out there and throw balls. I don't really care about at this point watching the growth of Bobby Witt Jr. or whatever you want to call what's going on over there. I'll pass, and I'd rather sit there with my girlfriend, and we can watch the Bachelorette.
Would you do Love Island?
Well, I don't know, man. I probably just would not do Love Island in general. I'd probably do something else that's also not watching the Royals game, like mow the yard. I'd probably go mow the lawn.
See, that's mine. I would rather mow the lawn in 90 degrees with 80% humidity and
Yeah.
the sun blaring down.
If you could make that lawn last you
I'd
like
be
an
able
hour and a
to-
half,
yeah,
I mean that's
I'd be able to do
that's
that
most of the
easy.
game right there anyway. So that would be ideal. Just some way to take up time for each evening that the Royals are on that are not worth you sitting there watching them lose their ass every single night. So,
I would actually be entertained if they were developing their players. If I could sit there and watch
Sure.
them develop players. The
Well-
problem is they don't develop anybody. So
Here-
that's why we're having this discussion.
here's the difference. Back in 2012, 2013, we saw the maturity and development of the young group we had back then develop. We saw them getting better. We saw Mustakas go through the drought and everything that came along with that. And we saw something being built. What we're seeing right now is just dog shit. Like,
See,
there's nothing being built here in Kansas City with the Royals.
Well, we see Brady Singer actually getting worse.
Oh yeah,
Where he should
Oh,
be
yeah.
getting better. That's another reason why we're having this discussion, because I think, if I'm not mistaken, Brady Singer royally screwed you over on one of your bets
Well-
recently, and that's why you're getting pissed off at them.
Well, the fun fact is that the Royals have 2 starting pitchers in their rotation who are in the bottom 3 of MLB ERA, and Brady Singer is one of them, and the other one's Jordan Lyles. So I mean, you're telling me? Oh, by the way, the Jordan Lyles with the Royals are 0-15 with starting pitching this year. So basically, if Jordan Lyles is pitching in a game, literally bet the farm on the other
Bet
team.
on the other team.
Bet
That's
the
right.
farm
That's your easy money bet for the rest of the rest of the season.
of the season and just get
I
your
almost
money
said
out.
rest of your life. but-
Well, he's not going to be in the league that long, but get your money out. Bet against Jordan Lyles.
I got another one for you. I'd rather go ahead and bet $50 on the A's money line and watch them. Watch that whole game rather than watch.
You
the
think you'd
Royals.
rather watch an A's game than a Royals game?
Yeah, at this point, I
That's
know
pretty
they're
crazy.
the worst in the league, but
You know what most people are going to
Well,
do?
they're not the worst in the league.
they are the worst. in the
No,
league.
they're not.
They're
Tanner.
19 wins.
Tanner?
Royals are 20.
Are the Royals going to win 7 games in a row this year?
You're still
No.
the worst record
No.
wise, and you're
No.
minus 204 differential to minus
take
113.
into account what division they play in. By the
Who-
way, that might help a little
AL
bit.
West sucks, dude.
No,
Okay.
what I'm saying is that the A's are actually a better team
A's are worse.
than the Royals.
They're 100, over 100, almost 100
No.
runs worse.
Whenever the Royals win 7 games in a row, we can talk
Oh,
about it.
really, that's what we're gonna base.
Because that's not going to happen.
All right, time out. Going back to your point about
Jeez.
Jordan Lyles. I feel like people are going to hear what you just said
They've lost
on
6,
in
by the
that
way,
stat,
in a
and
row.
they're going to try to compare this to when they walk up to a roulette table and they just see that black came up 15 times in a row, and they think that they should go all in on red. Please, that's not what we're saying here. You should always bet with the streak.
Yeah.
So please bet against Jordan
Yeah.
Lyles because black can hit on a roulette table 20 or 25 times in a row. So
Well-
don't think that the other side is due here, because I don't want to see anybody lose their money based on a stat that we just gave on the show.
Well, yeah, and that's true. That's true. That's a good point. And I think Lyles could break the streak on roulette. The all-time streak of losses. So
He's going to break the
you know,
streak.
the all-time streak of losses in roulette. He might break that record.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm thinking right now.
I've heard of 22 and 25 in a row. So if that's the level that we're trying to get to, then it could be possible.
He already set the MLB record for the record.
Right.
So lots of records right now being talked about. So the MLB record, by the way, is owned by Jordan Lyles now at this point. So just so you're aware of that. Guys, let's talk about something a little more fun, I suppose. The NBA had a couple moves here over the weekend. We saw the Suns make some moves. The Suns, of course, they finally, I think, picked out a coach. They also made a trade for Bradley Beal to then take over the Chris Paul spot on the team, the point guard spot. But I'm going to be interested to see how he fits into the team. I know there's some people out there questioning that, of if he's going to fit in well with everyone, with KD and with Devin Booker. I personally don't know why he wouldn't. This is a team that's very easy to fit into if you know what the hell you're doing. But they had to give away Landry Shamet is gone. CP3 is gone, which is actually addition by subtraction alone. But I'm curious, you guys being more of the NBA, you guys have been following Beal longer than I have. As much as I like to, be a Suns fan, you know more about him than I do. So kind of fill me in on what's going on right now in the NBA.
Yeah, so for the Suns, right now they've got 5 guys on their active roster. Now, obviously, they've got their own free agents that they'll be able to possibly come back and sign, guys like Bismack Biyombo. But right now, it's basically the big 3. So you got KD, you got Booker, Brad Beal, and then you've got a guy who they could trade potentially in DeAndre Ayton, who doesn't necessarily fit on the team at this point. And then you got Cameron Payne. So they're going to be trying to figure out a way to fill out that roster. I personally think that they need to move DeAndre Ayton to get some pieces. One thing that I've heard is that they could maybe flip him to the Knicks for Mitchell Robinson and Josh Hart. And I like how that sounds. I think that would be a great fit for both teams because DeAndre Ayton, he wouldn't have to sit there and bitch about getting the ball anymore. You throw him on the Knicks with Jalen Brunson, he would get a little bit more volume there on the offensive side of the floor. The Knicks obviously need some more defense. So I think that would be my preference. However, word on the street is that if they do try to deal DeAndre Ayton, it potentially may not happen until the trade deadline because they're going to wait until maybe his value is a little bit higher. For me personally, I would try to move him as fast as possible because he's not going to get that volume that he wants on offense. Yeah, I mean, he's going to be there for protecting the rim for Phoenix, but I mean, they need to get pieces right now. And I understand.
Are you talking about Ayton?
I'm talking about DeAndre Ayton.
Yeah, he's weak. He's soft. No one wants a center like him who, you talk about protecting the rim. He does a terrible job of that. He gets pushed out all the time.
So he's an 18 and 12 guy, right? So he can get you 18 points, 12 rebounds. There are a lot of teams that need that. But I just personally, I would get rid of him as fast as possible because you would need to bring something back to fill out your roster because I just don't know if that's good. That NBA season is long, man. And if you've only got 5 guys on your roster and you're going to all of a sudden bring back a bunch of guys who are going to be playing for the veteran minimum, the only thing I could say positively is that Vegas, after the trade happened for Beal, they did go to number 3 in the odds to win a championship. But that actually doesn't mean shit because the only team that they leapfrogged was the Milwaukee Bucks. So they only went up 1 slot
Yeah.
from before the trade to after the trade. And that's because there's nobody else on that damn roster. And so it'll be interesting to see moving forward who they try to bring in. But if there's some takers out there for DeAndre Ayton, I mean, I'm not waiting until the trade deadline, but that's what they're
tough.
saying could possibly
That's tough.
happen.
I mean, max contract, you're talking about 23% of the league cap is that he's taken over this year, 22 the next year, and 21 his final year. I mean, that contract's gonna be
Terrible.
tough, and you're not gonna get a lot for him.
I need you guys to
in the
understand that the backups that the Suns have, which are nobodies, outperformed DeAndre Ayton down the stretch in the playoffs.
Correct.
So
You're not gonna get a
just
lot.
to make that clear, that Ayton was actually outperformed by the backups.
Yeah, and I just think they need to bring in like some 3-and-D guys. A lot of people out there are sitting there saying, well, they need to bring in a point guard to replace CP3 because Cam Payne is not really that guy. He's not really a distributor. But I personally saw what Devin Booker was able to do when CP3 was not playing. And I think Devin Booker is the guy. I understand that these guys are going to rotate duties at the point guard. All three of the big three are going to rotate those duties. But for me, Devin Booker is the guy that they're going to depend on to run that point guard position. I do not want to bring in another point guard. I want to bring in 3-and-D guys and maybe a couple of bigs to fill out that roster, because I think they're set at point guard with Devin Booker, and obviously Brad Beal being a combo guard. He can help them at the point guard position.
So
Yeah, the main thing is still depth at the end of the day, and it's hard for me to look at them now and say that they have the ability to get to the finals, just because I don't think you can get there with the 3 alone or 4 alone, if you will. I think it's going to require some depth down the stretch, and I don't think they're going to have enough. So, to me, at this point, like you're banking on everyone being 100% healthy, almost the entire year, and then once you get to the playoffs, somehow those guys can then stay in pretty much the whole game, and I just don't see that being the case.
that's gonna be tough, man. It's even that Josh Hart, Mitchell Robinson, and Josh Hart still has an option whether he wants to decline or exercise. So I'll have to see what he does there. But man, that's like even Spot Check says it's invalid.
Would you give him a shot at least make it to the conference finals, Mike? I know you don't think they're going to win championship, but are the Nuggets the only team that you put ahead of them right now? Or are there other Western Conference teams?
No, I mean, I'd put the Nuggets ahead of them right now.
Yeah.
Just because they're
But
going to
nobody else, right? So you think they could make it to the conference finals with that team?
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll give it to them on that. But they got to do it now. I mean,
I don't know.
KD's only getting a little older day by day.
What do the Kings do? That's my other team. I think the Kings have a chance to overtake a benchless Suns team, and especially in a 7-game series.
If they have more depth, I mean, that's possible.
We saw what the Suns fall apart essentially. So
the Suns have been really good at falling apart these last few years in the playoffs.
yeah,
but
I mean, I'd put the
and for
Kings over the
different
Suns.
reasons, but the main thing I'm happy about at the end of the day is that CP3 is gone officially from the team.
That's true.
And so I don't have to worry about him choking in the playoffs or not showing up or being injured or whatever else the case may be. He's officially out of my issues of my life, because it's been annoying to watch, knowing the end result before it even happens each season, and just watching it unfold one way or the other, whether it's injury or just playing like shit.
And he has been an injured bum for a long time. I know a lot of people had issues with the fact that they brought in Brad Beal, who's another injury-prone player. But for me, I would much rather have a 30-year-old injured bum than a 38-year-old injured bum, because at least you got a better chance of him being healthy for a longer period of time. So yeah, we'll see what happens with the Suns. We talked about the Nuggets for a little while, but Bruce Brown did opt out of his contract. He was due about $6.8 million, I believe. Averaged 11.5 and 4 on the regular season. But for me, Bruce Brown he's kind of like the Draymond Green of that team. And so I think he has a lot of value. Michael Malone, I think, during one of the celebrations was saying, yeah, we have to bring this guy back. And so I hope they can figure out a way to re-sign him, because Bruce Brown, dude, I mean, he was like basically their best role player.
He was.
I mean, he was probably, between him and Aaron Gordon, he's probably like the third. Those guys were like the third and fourth best players
Michael
on
Porter
the team.
had a good series as well. There was a couple games he wasn't as good, but if you
Porter-
watched most
Porter-
of it, he showed up.
Overall, Porter really didn't do shit in the playoffs.
Porter was.
There was a couple games he showed
He
up.
was more
big.
disappointed, but Brown would be your sixth man. Your sixth man.
Yeah,
big
I would
player.
say in the last
That's what you
two
need.
series, Aaron Gordon and Bruce Brown were the third
Oh,
and fourth
easily.
best players on the team.
Easily. Yeah. And
But
then I would put
I
Ford
think
after that,
they've got to figure out a way to bring him back. I mean, because if you're going for the repeat,
which I think they will.
I mean, you have to. But yeah, I love Bruce Brown, and that was just, I couldn't believe the fact that they were able to bring him in, and he was such an integral part of the championship team. Another guy that opted out, Draymond Green. I don't think that's a big deal. Opted out of, I believe, what was it, 27 million, 26 million, somewhere in there.
Yep.
He's going to get more money, more years on that contract. But the Warriors,
But where?
no, he's going back to the Warriors.
He's
dude.
not going.
Yeah, he is.
Did you not see the tweet, that cryptic tweet he put on? Hey, LeBron, I'm ready for Taco Tuesday.
No.
He's going to the
Well,
Lakers.
I do want to
I don't
say,
believe that,
look,
dude.
look, what we're talking about right now, we talked about pretty recently was, Jordan Poole situation with Draymond Green and which one's going to be out of the picture. And I mean, I think at this point it's pretty obvious. I mean, we talked about this, and the older guy was out. Poole should be staying there. So
I've heard rumors
we've seen it.
I've heard rumors that he's definitely coming back. Mike Dunleavy Jr. was on the record as saying he's a part of what we want to do. Now, he did not mention Jordan Poole, but he said, Draymond Green is the guy that we need to bring back.
It's going to be tough. They're going to have to make some moves. Poole has to be gone in order to make Draymond back. They're the worst in the league
Right,
in
so-
cap.
So Tanner's
By a
point is
lot.
it's one or the other. And right now
You
we
can't
got one.
You can't pay everybody. So you got to get rid of Poole, or you got to get rid of Draymond.
I'm just telling I'm telling you what their front office believes.
Yeah.
What I believe as a fan, and you guys know, not only am I a Warriors fan, I'm also a Jordan Poole fan. What I want to happen, if it were me making the decision, yeah, I'm going to keep Poole because Draymond is on the downside of his career. But and maybe it's a smokescreen, but that's not the information that they're putting out there. They're saying that they're going to bring Draymond back and give him whatever the hell he wants. So we'll see what happens. But I mean, the dude does have quite a few rings there for that team. So
quite a few rings, quite some drama with that team the last few years too. So
yeah,
I
he
don't
also
see
lost
how you
them.
bring him back.
He lost them a ring against LeBron
Yes,
as
he
well.
did.
So
Well, real quick, Jason. So obviously the draft is tomorrow in the NBA draft. Your favorite team has the number 1 overall pick. I mean, what can you tell us about this guy? I mean, we know who they're going to be taking. So tell me about him. I want to know.
For sure they're not going Scoot, right?
Mr. Scoot Henderson.
So Scoot's out here saying I'm the best. Well, like you
Yeah,
always would.
look,
they're not going with
the
Scoot.
7'5" guy you're going to pass up on, Tanner.
I would. No.
Well, I just want to know, so as a Spurs
but
fan,
unless you're a Thunder history person with Chet Holmgren, and then you're worried about him getting injured and not fitting.
I just think that what I've been hearing from a lot of people is like we've seen a lot of NBA busts over the years, and I think people are very quick to hate on this guy, whether it's because of his frame or what have you. There are those people out there who would say, "Oh well, he's not going to be that good. He might be an all-star, but he's not going to be a superstar, what have you." I listened to this guy in an interview recently. I think he was on with JJ Redick on his podcast, and the dude reminded me of Nikola Jokic in the way that he spoke, basically saying things like, basketball is a part of my journey, but it's not the most important thing. And he's ready to basically be a superstar in all of his life. And it just reminded me of Jokic, because Jokic acted like he was bored a lot of times behind the podium, saying things like, "Yeah, it's not a big deal. I'm ready to go home," things like that. And I listened to an interview with Wemby, and it's just like he's got that mentality where he's got bigger things in mind. And when you have bigger things in mind in life, then a lot of times if you're just out there playing basketball, it's going to come easier to you than people think. And he's a 7'4" monster. And I don't care about his frame, because you could have said the same thing about Kevin Durant. Kevin Durant was a fucking toothpick when he came to the league. Now, a lot of people are saying, no, it's not two different types, Tanner.
Dude.
Have you seen this guy's fucking wingspan?
Yeah, I know it's massive.
He'll destroy Kevin Durant. If they're going up one-on-one, he'll destroy him.
I'm just saying two
So-
different styles of play right there.
Not really.
It is.
You don't think Wemby can shoot threes like Kevin Durant?
I know he can shoot threes.
You
but
don't
it's
think
two different styles?
No,
of play,
it's
dude.
not. It's very similar.
No,
he can
so-
handle
so
the rock.
Tanner-
He can handle the rock just like KD. He can shoot like KD. And if he turns out to be a 7'4" version of KD, that's a wrap, dude. Like,
What's
go
the
ahead and give
chances
him.
of seeing that happen in the NBA? You're going against real pros here. That
That's
are gonna
fine.
Be able
I mean,
to
I'm just
trap you and stuff.
I'm telling you, like, we got to start thinking about him like Mahomes.
Oh,
His
Lord.
floor is going to be 2
I'm not going
championships.
there yet, dude. I'm
His
not
floor-
going there.
Remember, I told you guys this a long time ago. I mean, probably before Mahomes
Oh,
even got his
boy.
first ring, I said his floor is 2 championships, and that's what I believe the floor is for Wemby. That's how good he is.
Is the NBA too physical for this guy, Tanner? What do you think's gonna happen?
I
with him?
think you're going to see the maturity and the forceful of having to develop quickly to be that kind of guy. We saw LeBron be that kind of guy almost right away. Victor, I don't know if we're going to see it because now teams are going to scrimmage.
There's
against him,
no
essentially.
there's no pressure on him because the last person that's going to want to put pressure on him is his coach, Greg Popovich. Oh, by the way, he's in a small market, so the media doesn't give a shit. He's going to have very little pressure compared to
I'm
a
not-
guy like LeBron.
I'm talking about the coaching aspect of things against him. They're going to be able to get his weakness pretty quick. And being even 7'4" and talented as he is, granted he's stupid, ridiculous talented, but I feel like there's weaknesses that are going to be exposed very early in his NBA career that he's going to have to fight mentally through.
Well, you guys have seen your busts in recent years. You've seen Ja Morant and you've seen Zion Williamson.
Where-
Those guys are busting
First
right.
rounds, number 1 overall.
No,
picks?
I'm talking about superstars in the NBA. I'm not talking about. It doesn't matter if you're a number 1 overall,
I
number
thought
2
we were taking
overall.
number 1 overall.
No,
picks.
it doesn't matter, dude. I'm telling you, we've already seen our busts. We're seeing them right now before our eyes.
Ja Morant's not
Ja
a
Morant,
bust.
Zion Williamson. This guy Wemby is not going to be a bust. He's too fucking good, and he's going to take the league by storm. And his like I said, his wingspan is stupid, man.
Oh no, it is.
And what
I'm just saying, I don't want to hit I don't want to say like this guy sucks. This guy doesn't suck by any means. There's going to be really strategic things to do against him. I just think the NBA is too professional to not expose something early in his rookie career. So that's all I'm saying.
Yeah, no, that's fine. If they want to expose it, maybe in the first 6 months,
Yeah,
they might get away with that, but it's
I
going
wanna
to
see
be
his
short
fight.
lived, man.
I want to see his fight. That's what I want to see.
All right, guys. Well, let's talk about an idiot, as a matter of fact, Mr. Tyreek Hill himself. Probably not the smartest guy in the world. And I'm sure you guys out there listening have already heard
Thanks,
the
Bill.
news about Mr. Tyreek Hill. And, he, in the offseason, he tends to say a lot of stupid things, sometimes does stupid antics. Apparently, he went out fishing on a boat over the weekend and caught himself a big fish, according to himself. But in the meantime, catching that big fish, supposedly, he might have assaulted someone at the Miranda. Is that what it has up there? Is that what they're called?
Marina.
Marina. Oh, the Marina. I call it
Marina.
Marina. I keep
Not
on
the
looking
Marina.
Miranda.
Mike's
Marina.
never been to a lake. in
No,
his
I
whole
have.
life.
He's been to a lake. He hates the bugs that's around
Oh.
the lake.
No, that's funny. Earlier I was like what's that called again? Miranda? It's like
Miranda. Yeah.
Anyways, so apparently he hit someone maybe in the back of the head at this marina, and
Now, how do we say hit someone in the back of the head?
well, gave him the farmhand, Tanner. You got to give somebody the farmhand,
Yeah,
boom, to the back, which you can knock someone out doing that.
you can.
In fact, I did it one time in high school. But I mean, this is a guy working here at the marina, and I think Mr. Tyreek Hill had probably been hanging out with Drew Rosenhaus a little too long, getting a little cocky. Felt like, oh, my agent's with me, I can get away with anything I want. Because he'll take care of me. Drew Rosenhaus, he'll pay for whatever I do that's destructive. And well, at the end of the day, causing issues. But I mean, is this something that you think the Chiefs took something like this into account, knowing some of the things he's been accused of in the past, and knowing the cockiness he's come up with as time's gone on, where he's just kind of a self-centered, full of shit guy? And the Chiefs team saw that. They're aware of that. We appreciate the great years he gave the Chiefs, and he'll go down as the best Chiefs receiver in history. But at the end of the day, I mean, what do you guys make of this Tyreek Hill situation where he's just going out at this lake and jacking off and just going out and hitting people? I mean, and apparently there's going to be no repercussions. We're going to let this thing slide under the bus.
There's no charges filed. right?
Right,
So
no charges.
the guy
That's what I
didn't want to, charge anyways. So he obviously it wasn't that big of a deal. It was just a little scrimmage against two guys. So that's all it was.
A skirmish.
Skirmish,
It was
thank
not
you.
a scrimmage, Tanner.
I mean,
A
Tyreek was
skirmish.
ready to bust in them. So, but it's not a big deal.
Not a big deal.
No.
Tanner, if you did this, what do you think your family would think of that? What do you think if everyone was just saying about this if you did this?
We just talked about the same kind of situation a week ago. This John Morant, was there any charges? And you guys were all against being suspension. Now we're talking about no charges
Tanner,
on a
here's the
little
deal.
skirmish.
Here's the deal. If you were driving
You
around
guys are
waving
so
your gun,
back and forth.
no.
I swear.
Here's the thing. John Morant didn't hurt anybody. He was getting pleasure. He was going to strip clubs. He was waving his gun around. All things that he wanted to do for himself. Now, going around hitting people at a marina, that's different, Tanner. If you did that, I'd be very disappointed in you. If you told me you went to, like let's say, you were out partying and, you went to the strip club, I'd go, hey, man, I hope you had a good time. I wouldn't think anything bad about it. But if you told me, you went to a lake and you got in a scuffle and started beating the hell out of somebody, I'd be like, what the fuck's wrong with
he
you?
didn't beat the hell out of anybody. So.
Yeah, well, that's what they all say. You get a little hush money in there and the guy's going to, run away and not worry about it. So, I'd be disappointed if that was the case. So yeah, there's a difference, Tanner, between what John Morant does in his free time and what Tyreek Hill does in his free time. So just to make sure you're aware of that it's a very big difference.
Hey, the big deal came into that argument was there a charge, and it wasn't. So there's your argument. And this one is not a big deal.
I would be interested to know if, in fact, he was drunk and or hammered or intoxicated or maybe doing some form of substances out there on the lake, because apparently he was going fishing, or his group was going fishing for a certain type of fish that was illegal. Like you're not allowed to catch this certain type of fish. That's what was reported. And that's what caused the skirmish when he decked this guy in the back of the head. But I will tell you this. I mean, it's very easy to talk shit on these guys. I mean, talk shit on John Morant. We talk shit on Tyreek Hill. I mean, every time somebody does something that makes the news, we like to talk shit on these guys. But all I know is, from my own personal life experience, is that there are those people who like to push the limits in life. Now, I'm not one of those people, clearly. I mean, I'm like a model citizen, if you want to know the truth. But I do know there are many people that like to push the limits. Maybe it's something simple like just, not flushing the toilet, at a public restroom or something like that.
You get off on that
after you drop a load. I mean,
is that something you're into?
No, I'm making an example here, but I'm just saying Tyreek Hill strikes me as one of those guys that likes to push the limits to see what he can get away with. Now, punching him in the back of the head, that's a different story. I'm just saying, like, I can put myself in his shoes, and somebody tells me, hey, you can go fishing in here, but do not catch this one specific kind of fish. Adam and Eve, you can go walk around in this garden, but do not partake of that apple right there on that tree. I've heard there are people that would go ahead and do that anyway. But the bottom line here is, I'm going to get to my final point. These guys want to push the limits. I have nothing against that, but I'm going to make a second comparison to Nikola Jokic. Once again, Nikola Jokic decked Markieff Morris in the back of the head and won a championship. Basically right after that, decked Markieff Morris in the back of the head. Tyreek Hill just decked a guy in the back of the head. So don't be surprised.
Just for fun, right? Just for
don't
fun.
Be surprised, guys,
just for entertainment.
When we do our AFC East rankings. Don't be surprised if your boy JG has the Dolphins winning the AFC East. They're not.
No, here's the.
They're not going to win the Super Bowl.
Tanner,
they're not going to win the Super Bowl. That's not where I'm going with this. Don't be surprised if they win their division this year, because he took after his boy Nikola Jokic and decked somebody in the back of the head.
The real problem in this whole story, anyway, is he's on a boat on a lake with his agent and all the other rich fucks on there, and going fishing, jacking around. And this was on Father's Day, by the way, at 6 p.m. when this occurred. So I have a big problem with the fact that he's neglecting his kids. He always calls himself a family man. Lord. It's Father's Day. Who doesn't go see their children on Father's Day?
Yeah, I wouldn't. I always want to be That's not you know, we're talking about things that I've never experienced in my life. So I always want to be with my family on Father's Day. So I think Mike does have a point there, but that's a deeper issue. I'm not trying to dig into these guys' personal lives, okay? The bottom line is you tried to catch a fucking fish that they told you you're not supposed to be fishing for, okay? You broke the rules. Now all of a sudden, well, shit. Now that gives me the right, since they don't like me. Now that they don't like what I did, that gives me the right to deck somebody in the back of the fucking head. No,
What are you
I'm sorry,
talking
dude.
about?
Tell the guy that
Look,
you're sorry.
can we
Tell
get
him
the
you're
full
sorry.
He
sorry
punched a
story?
child while it was inside of his mother, and also he broke his child's arm. Now he neglects them on Father's
That's
Day.
a personal issue, man. That we talk
And he
about.
calls himself a family man.
That's a personal issue, man. I'm not
Disappointed.
getting into. I don't want to dig into their personal lives. I just want to tell you that he did something illegal by catching a fish that was illegal to catch. I'm not talking about personal shit, okay? I'm talking about the law, okay? So all he had to do was just apologize and say, hey, man, I'm going to throw that fish back in there. I'm going to do the right thing. Instead, he fucking decked the motherfucker. So that's the only thing I have against him right now.
Yeah, and that worker probably had kids himself. So,
Probably.
Can we clean it up? Can we clean up, guys?
What's your problem?
So the update is, according to Finsider here, the alleged incident with Tyreek was that Hill and a group of people were at the marina when two women in the group boarded the wrong boat. When the workers confronted the group, a subject was in the argument, got slapped by Hill. So this could have been a defense thing that
Okay.
turned ugly.
So he's getting hookers on Father's Day.
Self-defense. Okay.
Nice.
Okay, now we're putting that in there.
Well, if
This
it
could-
turns out to be
it-
self-defense, that's a different story.
It could have been workers being rude, and Hill's like what the hell, man? Slap.
Could have been an Alvin Kamara
Yeah.
situation, which
No, I
was
agree.
also potentially self-defense.
This reminds me back in the day at Harrah's Casino, back when that woman told you need to put that mask over your nose, she probably deserved to be slapped herself. So next time we don't like when someone comes up to us,
No,
confronts us, Tanner,
That's
we should just give them all a slap in the back of the
You're
head.
acting like there was nothing to it, like he just did it out of randomness. It's what you guys are
Well,
saying.
No.
Yes,
no,
it is.
I'm not saying it was out of
Completely.
randomness.
You said out of randomness. Like, oh, I'm
No.
gonna do it for fun because I think
No.
it's fun.
I think he
and
was
I'm
being an
rich.
asshole is what happened.
I don't think he was. So
You think that when you slap someone in the back of the head, you're not being an asshole?
I don't think when I see this, that's
Wow,
not being an
Tanner.
asshole, because we don't know
Wow,
the full
Tanner.
story there. That could have been.
Well, I think
self-defense.
that Tyreek
Don't
Hill
judge
should
about
be
it, dude.
jailed, and that lady from Harris needs to be put away as well. So
Don't judge about it.
I guess we'll see if anything
Lord
comes
of
of this. I
mercy.
suppose.
Yeah, that goes back to people unlike me pushing the limits, and that story, Mike, that was a long time ago. I don't remember too much about that.
Well, I will say comparatively, what do you guys think about this compared to Larry Johnson in a nightclub throwing a drink on a woman? Is this the same, similar? I'd say it's about the same. It's
This is
equivalent
not the same.
of the same. I think it's about the same thing. Why? What?
I'm not talking with you. I'm not.
Well, I
talking
mean, think about it. Nothing ever happened with Larry after that incident. I mean, I don't even think he got suspended or anything. Tyreek Hill probably won't get suspended.
Well,
But I mean, at the end of the day, you're
well-
still assaulting someone.
the thing about, but the thing about,
You guys are
the,
dumb.
but the thing about Larry Johnson is like that to me, it was not as bad because his nickname was Grandmama, and he could have easily identified as trans. So now all of a sudden, if it's a woman throwing the drink, then you're not gonna you might just give him a slap on the wrist and not think it's that bad.
Yeah. At that point, it'd be woman on woman crime, and we'll let that go. It's underneath the table, I suppose. So
He did
no,
identify
I-
as Grandmama, by the way. Like, I'm not making that shit up.
I think Chris Berman might have been the one to identify. But then again, I didn't ever ask him what his identity was. So if you don't ask, you don't know. So
Yeah, like I'm with Tanner on that. Two completely different situations, but I do like the comparison with the Alvin Kamara.
I want to know what's worse
because it could have been self-defense.
Here's what I want to do. We should act this out sometime during the show. I'll have a drink one day, come up, splash it on Tanner, and say, "How did that make you feel?" And then I'll say, I'll turn around and slap him in the back of the head. And I'll say, "Which one was worse, having a drink splashed on you or slapped in the back of the head?" Tell me about it, Tanner. How'd that feel?
Tell me the situation, and then we'll go. from
Oh,
there.
we have to have context.
I need
We have to have
context.
context.
Well, that's what we
Tanner,
should do.
At
We
the
should
end of the
always
day,
have context.
is assault not assault?
No, it's not.
Oh shit! He thinks there's a difference because
There
of
is a
context
difference
here.
between standing up and assaulting somebody.
You standing up.
Standing up for somebody,
You think
defense.
defense? Tyreek Hill what was he defending?
He was probably defending the two women. The Dorcas
Oh,
were
who
probably
gives a
being
shit? It's hookers, Tanner. It's hookers. Who gives a shit?
Don't be dicks to people.
Dicks to people. They were supposed to be on the boat. Get the fuck off the boat, you dumb bitch.
Now, it's fine if you want to do that exercise on Tanner to see how he would respond. However, if you do the exercise, I think you need to do it twice. And then the second time, just tell Tanner, okay, Tanner, I want you to now pretend that you're Ron Artest. And see if he responds differently to having that drink thrown on him.
I know he's not a Chief anymore, and you like to throw the hate at him because he's throwing shade at the Chiefs. So I understand where you're coming from in the judgment case.
I think dumbass was being dumbass, Tanner.
Hey,
the CTE is kicking in, man.
Till we see more, that's kind of what I'm going
with. The CTE is kicking in.
I'm
just going to let you know right
the
now.
bottom line with Tyreek.
I mean, the CTE is kicking in.
You know a CTE?
What?
You know who's CTE?
Who is CTE?
Who has CTE?
Antonio Brown. We already know.
No, the other guy.
I'm not talking about it.
So the bottom line here, I'm going to give you the bottom line with Tyreek Hill. Okay. At some point in your career, there are those people out there where when they have a ring, Super Bowl ring, and a shitload of money, there are those people that feel like they can do whatever the fuck they want and get away with it. I'm just going to leave it at that.
It's fine.
All right. Now, I'm glad we could talk about assholes, during this last segment, because we got one final topic. And like I said, you guys, I know it's the off season of sports in a lot of ways, so we're trying to get through it. Obviously NHL is even over too. So, but I got one more thing I want to talk about. So I've been noticing lately, everywhere we go, it seems like more and more often we're getting prompted with different things, and the simplest of things of all that. I mean, I've noticed when I go to Subway. Oh yeah, we got to talk about that too. Yeah. Hold on.
No, dude, go ahead. Go.
Well, we'll get to that.
Yeah,
don't worry.
Going.
We'll get to that.
Keep going.
We'll get to that. So no, what I was going to bring up real quick is just kind of our thoughts on this new culture we have here in America. And I'm sure it might be in some ways worldwide, some places, but if I go to get my gosh darn meatball sandwich at Subway, now all of a sudden I got a prompt feature for tipping every time I go in there. Or if you go to Panda Express, they want you to donate all your change every time, which whatever. But I've just noticed even in the simplest of things, if I, some places, you go to buy your own case of beer, they actually have a feature for you to tip based on you buying your own case of beer at a liquor store.
You know what my favorites are? At the ballpark, the grab and goes.
Oh yeah, the grab and go.
Still want you to tip.
Yeah,
at the grab
tip
and
on the grab and go.
Yeah.
The serve yourself section, which
you should be yourself out.
You should be tipping yourself at that, so you should get a reimbursement.
All they're doing is opening their can for you.
Well, yeah, that takes a whole lot of effort, Tanner. Anyways, I'm just curious what your guys' current thoughts of the state of what's going on, this phenomenon that we're dealing with, and how far is it going to go? I mean, are we going to be having walk outside every time we go out and get gas? Hey, want to go ahead and leave a tip after you just filled up your tank? Hey, give me a few bucks, because you served yourself, but you need to tip the gas station an extra $5 because they provided you the opportunity to put gasoline in your car. At this point, it's just kind of crazy, man. I mean, obviously going out to bars and restaurants and all that, it makes sense. I mean, this is the world we live in America. So we're always going to have that here. And we always have for a long ass time. So I'm more worried about and concerned about the little things of where tipping's slipped into the rest of the world here that are bothersome. So what's your stance currently on tipping culture?
So the first thing you got to remember is this is all the big corporations, right? So if you're a big corporation, why would you not try to set your interface or your POS system to try to get as much money as possible? So when you go into a damn Starbucks, it's not the barista that's asking you for the money, okay? It's just the POS system that's in front of you trying to make you feel bad if you don't give somebody a tip, okay? That's point number one. But I'm going to keep this very simple, okay? I hit the extremes on this argument. So if I'm sitting down to a nice restaurant and I'm getting good service or maybe excellent service, I'm going above and beyond. I will happily give 20 to 30%. I don't care. If I'm feeling really generous that day, I might give 40%. I don't give a shit. However, if I'm at a sandwich shop or a coffee shop or a fast food restaurant and that bullshit pops up on my screen, guess what, buddy? You're getting a zero burger every fucking time. no exceptions, because they didn't do shit. I bought whatever it is that I wanted to buy from them. I paid for it. Outside of that, they didn't do shit. Now, the only exception to that rule is I'm poor, man. I don't make a lot of money. I mean, Tanner pays me a decent salary, but I still got to feed my family. So if you're one of these fucking rich people that just has money to burn, then by all means, don't do the JG method. I mean, if you want to go get your Starbucks and leave them a $3 or $5 tip, dude, you're rich. Knock yourself out. What I have a problem is like all these corporations asking for more money, and then some Joe Schmo on the street walks in there and said, "Oh yeah, I better tip him $2." Meanwhile, Joe Schmo's fucking broke. He has shit and balls, those two things left in his bank account. You have no business tipping those fuckers because they didn't do anything for you, right? You just paid for your drink.
Yeah.
And so I think it's like Tanner was talking about, we got to have a little bit of context here. If you've got a lot of money and you felt like the service was great and you just want to help somebody out, great. You know, go to the sandwich shop and leave them a few dollars for a tip.
Don't you
fine.
tip on those machines.
But
don't
if-
you tip on
if-
those machines.
If you're somebody out there, which is basically all of middle class America, living paycheck to paycheck, put a fucking Zero Burger in there. Okay. Don't be fucking stupid and live paycheck to paycheck and just fucking spend all your money. Like there's no point. Like save it for your sit down restaurants where somebody is actually working hard to give you a good service. Then throw your money out there and make yourself feel good about yourself. Give them 20-30% tip or whatever you want. But that the rest of this stuff is bullshit. I leave them a Zero Burger every fucking time.
Well, I figure if nothing else, Tanner, you know, from my perspective, is I don't want to further set the precedent that this is the direction we should continue to go when it comes to everything.
No,
Because
especially not
what
corporations.
happens is, in a lot of ways, with this kind of stuff is, you know, you give them an inch and they take a mile, and that's exactly what's gone on in this situation. And so when I see these things come up, I'm just like, I'm almost trying to keep it from continuing on by denying it. And so for me, I do the same thing you guys do on most situations like that. So yeah, I mean, I don't want to continue to further set that precedent that everything should have some kind of tip option. You know, next time you do a self checkout at Target, oh, they want you to, you know, tip on something at Target. All of a sudden, like that's the direction they'd like to go in, because some dumbass out there is going to go, oh yeah, well, you know, they let me buy the bullshit, so I might as well tip 10%. You know, just because it shows up on a screen in front of you doesn't mean you need to be tipping shit.
I'll give you one more example of that, since you brought up the sort of give an inch, take a mile analogy. Ever since like the 80s and 90s, I used to watch documentaries on gambling over in Europe. And even back in the 1980s and 90s, it was required when you're at a casino table game that you tip the dealer. Here in the United States, growing up here, like, yeah, it's good to give a tip to your dealer, but hardly anybody does it. I mean, there are people out there that do it, but if you're living in Europe, decades ago, man, if you didn't leave a tip for your dealer, they would get pissed off, and they would in some cases back you off if you were a repeat offender.
Oh wow.
And didn't tip your dealer. So when Mike said give an inch, take a mile, that's what that reminds me of. Is like over in Europe, it becomes at some point in a society an expectation, to the point where if you're not doing what you're supposed to do, we'll kick you out of the casino, or in this case, we'll kick you out of the Starbucks because you didn't tip somebody. So that's kind of the road that we're going down. I think that's what you had in mind there, Mike.
Yeah, and I don't want that to happen. And that's my whole thing, and my philosophy towards it is that, you know, I'll do whatever I can to prevent that type of society going down this path, because it's moronic. And when, you know, at the end of the day, these corporations that hire these people need to be paying them adequately, and it shouldn't be relying on your everyday citizen to make up for any kind of lack of pay when it comes to your standard job.
And by the way, if you just give like a $3 tip to a barista at Starbucks, that's $3 less that you could have given to a homeless person on the street.
Sure.
I'll leave it at that.
Yeah,
I'm not
Let's
going
see
and
what-
also that, well, like the thing is like we tip all these random people for different things, but you know, I see a lot of workers out there. I mean, you know, how often are you just doing your everyday job same way as anybody else, but you're not getting a tip? You know, you're doing your normal shit.
Yep.
You know, we have, you know, people out there that are, you know, meter readers. Let's say that they're walking around reading your damn meter. They're doing an accurate job. You know, you want to tip them to ensure that they're giving you an accurate job. Well, no, we don't do that. We don't tip your meter reader or your mailman. You know, we don't tip these people. You know why? Because they're doing the shit they're paid by their companies to be doing. So why the hell would we be tipping these people? Same way as why the hell are we tipping these random asses who are literally should be getting paid by the company adequately to be there instead of relying on us to tip them for every goddamn thing they do?
Right.
Again, it's great to be generous, but save that money for the servers at your restaurants.
Yeah,
That's who deserves the money because they're
Sure.
working their fucking ass off.
sure, of course.
Save
Yeah.
it for your beer tenders. Save it for your food truck people. You know, the
Yeah,
people-
bartenders,
yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, like today, I gave a 40% tip on mine. So I mean, not certain great bartenders deserve that. You know what I mean?
By the
so,
way-
I mean that's what I do.
Anything you can do, you give them cash as a tip. Don't use the damn machines if you can avoid it.
Oh, I love
Give 'em
that.
cash.
Yeah, absolutely.
now
I'm glad you brought that up.
You're not going to avoid it completely. Like if you go to DoorDash, the drivers aren't going to take your thing if you're giving cash tip because they're not going to see that tip. They're going to have to see it what you're putting in actually in DoorDash. But if you're at a bar, if you're at a restaurant, anything like that, give the cash.
Yeah, and DoorDash, I'm glad you brought that up. That's a little bit different case. Like they're actually doing work to bring you your food. I do believe that they deserve a tip.
Like, because we go on tips, right? So when I did it, I went on tips. That was included into the projection
Well,
there. So
I do want to mention this about DoorDash is that whenever you tip higher, the dasher
It's a
can see
Bakkens.
that normally, and so it actually makes your food get there quicker.
correct.
If you
Peop-
if you tip
more willing
adequately,
to accept it.
I'll
if
Yes.
it's higher.
you know the dasher will accept that order. You'll get your food faster that way.
Yes.
Or if you don't tip at all, it'll sit there for 2 hours.
And probably,
I'm serious.
probably get canceled in the
It
end.
could be canceled, but otherwise you're gonna get some cold ass food.
Yeah,
So
'Cause
so
nobody's taking it.
just so you guys are aware, for DoorDash you're tipping ahead of time.
that's
for your
why I
service.
bring it up because of that factor in there. Because I've done it and that's what we look for. So
All right, guys, I got one more thing I want to bring up today, and it's a little fun little exercise. We got Bodkins going right now, so he can play along with this game for a minute. So JG and I were talking earlier about some pizza. So if you guys are familiar with Kansas City, we have Minsky's out here, and we have the Z-Man from Oklahoma Joe's KC, whatever. And yeah, they officially combined sources to become the Z-Man Pizza. And JG told me last night that he jizzed in his pants. And so, you know, with that alone right there got me excited. I wanted to try it myself. I have not tried it still, but you know, it made me think to myself, you know, Jason's perspective on this pizza is that it's one of the best he's ever had in his entire life, right?
By far.
And now hold on. You also mentioned one other thing to go along with it. You told me there might be a certain football player that would be comparable to this epic pizza.
Yeah, so before I talk about this, I want to make it clear if you guys want to try this fucking thing, it's while supplies last. It was a Father's Day special. I got it one day after Father's Day because I actually wasn't with my family for Father's Day, but don't tell anybody that. Anyway, I got my fucking pizza, and pizza is my favorite food, right? And I rated this Z-Man pizza from Minsky's. It's got obviously the KC Joe's brisket and barbecue sauce and onion rings on there. I ranked it as the second best pizza that I've ever had in my life. And I won't go into too much detail about my favorite, although it is Pizzeria Uno, which is based in Chicago. It's also a national chain, which we used to have in Kansas City. That's always been my all-time favorite. So what I did was I wanted to compare players whose careers are over. So I took Patrick Mahomes out of the equation because he's got a long way to go in his career. But two players whose careers are over. I took Tom Brady, Joe Montana. So my favorite pizza of all time, Pizzeria Uno, I said is Tom Brady. That's the GOAT. But I compared this Z-Man pizza from Minsky's to Joe Montana, because that was like the second best thing I've ever had in my life. So I think that the goal here of this discussion is to compare pizza restaurants to NFL players. So let's just do
Yeah.
it with current. We can do it with current
current?
players or
Okay.
whatever you want to do. So I'll get mine out of the way real quick. Little Caesars, right? So it's not a pizza that I eat all the time. It's really not that great. I mean, it's a good pizza, but it's not something that I'm going to go out of my way to get. And so I compared Little Caesars to Kirk Cousins because Kirk Cousins is probably a good quarterback, but he's not great. But he gets the job done. He gets me to maybe, not going to win me a championship, but he's going to accomplish a few good things in my life or for my team.
Little Caesars is cheap though. Kirk Cousins is an expensive ass out there for the
Well,
Vikings.
these
That's true.
days,
That's very true.
quarterbacks are all fucking expensive if they can play.
Yeah.
So again, Little Caesars, it's good enough. It gets the job done for me. So I compared Little Caesars to Kirk Cousins.
Nice. What do you think about that one? Little Caesars, Tanner. Who comes to mind for them for you?
What's the old Chargers quarterback before Herbert?
Well, Philip Rivers.
Philip Rivers.
Philip Rivers, huh?
Yeah.
See, when I think about Little Caesars, I think about the fact that they started off as this cheap little restaurant for pizza. Also, it was mainly a walk-in and buy. I think it might still be just a walk-in
It's
and
still
buy.
walking by.
So walk in and
Yeah, hot and
buy.
ready's.
But also, I want you guys to understand, Little Caesars is now the official pizza restaurant of the NFL, which tells me they've had this slow come up. They've had this time period where you were a little cheap ass, and now all of a sudden, you're now being sponsored by the NFL. Someone
They're
who
big.
once sponsored Papa John's. Now they're up here. So for me, I'm gonna say, someone who had had a slow start to their career and now a very steep, quick incline. I'm gonna go with the Geno Smith as my Little Caesars, based off of last year. Geno Smith having a great year with Seattle. So that'll be my Little Caesars. So obviously, Little Caesars to me is nothing spectacular, but it had a great year.
I think
But you,
Little
having a
Caesars
great
has
time.
you
been-
don't have to talk about Little Caesars,
been pretty
Tanner, if you don't
consistent
want. You
on
can
it.
pick your own restaurant if you want.
I don't know.
Sure.
What's your next one?
Oh, my next one. I was going to talk about Domino's.
Oh,
I
what do
mean-
you got for Domino's?
Well, Domino's is one of those companies to me that's been up and down. And I like their highs, but their lows have been really low. And so for me, Domino's is one of those things that I had a time in my life that it was my favorite fucking pizza in the world. I mean, I would order that shit every fucking Friday, and I loved it, man. Their thin crust is really good, but it was cheap. It was also really, really cheap. But I think at the end of the day, the highs and lows remind me a little bit of what I've seen from Justin Herbert lately. Just because this point in his career, I think that we've seen some really bad Herbert. We've seen some good Herbert. But I think there's a lot left to be desired. And so that's how I feel about Domino's is that they have a lot more to prove, and they got a long ways to go still.
I was going to say Derek Carr in that. So
Sure.
I agree with
Yeah,
that kind of similar train. I think at one time they were.
that's good. That's a good one.
I think Derek Carr, like maybe he's going to be consistent again. So we'll see. But that's my comparison.
Now, my next one I want to bring up, you're going to hate this, but
Now let me do my
My-
Domino's first.
well, you want to do Domino's?
I'm gonna
Oh,
go
let's do
with
Domino's.
I've got to because I think of Domino's a little bit differently than you guys do because for years and years, especially when I was growing up, Domino's tasted like shit, and that was my own personal opinion. I know people liked it, but they did something over the last 5 or so years, and I think they changed their recipe a little bit, and all of a sudden I tried it, and I used to think it tasted like shit. And now I thought it just improved. Like it wasn't one of my favorites, but it was like awesome. And that reminds me of Matthew Stafford because when he was with Detroit, he was good, but his team was kind of a piece of shit. All of a sudden you throw him on the Rams and he wins a Super Bowl. And so that kind of reminds me of Domino's there because it just it got better really, really fast once it changed its recipe.
Yeah, it went through a lot of seasons that were up and down a lot. So Stafford is a good one on that. My next one I'll talk about is Pizza Hut. Now, you might not like what I have to say about this, but Pizza Hut to me is Russell Wilson all day long because, I mean, we had such an awesome start to this career of Pizza Hut. It was at the time the height of all the pizza places, supposedly. Everyone loved Pizza Hut, right? Well, got news for you guys. We've learned over the years that there's a lot of great, better pizza out there in the world. And the decline of Pizza Hut has been a sad dwindling away over time to where I don't know much longer. They're all going to be in business, but I see the other places around town about to close them all down.
Wow.
So that's Russell Wilson.
All right, I'll come back to that if you want to go.
I don't
Tanner.
have anything for Pizza Hut, dude.
No Pizza Hut?
No, I can't.
So everybody always gives me shit because Pizza Hut is like one of my favorites of all time. It's probably, it might not be the second best, but it's probably at least in my top 5. I've always loved Pizza Hut. I've eaten it my whole life. And honestly, right now, if we were just talking about in the Kansas City area, because obviously we don't have Uno, which is my favorite. So if I have my top 2 choices and I can go to Minsky's or Pizza Hut, those are my top 2 choices in Kansas City. So I know there's a lot of Pizza Hut haters out there, but for me personally, if they're my number 2, then I must compare them to the second best quarterback in the NFL, which is Joe Burrow.
Damn,
See,
that's some
I
high
got-
praise once again.
I think Pizza has most of my backup option. Like, if, let's say Papa John's is too busy. I don't want Domino's.
You guys just don't like
Let's-
the thick
but-
crust and the grease.
no,
man, I
no,
love
the-
grease,
like, it's
man.
good.
The crust
but-
itself is just not good.
But it's like you're sitting at home on Saturday night, right? But you don't want to go far. You want something easy. Pizza Hut's right around the corner. Like it's my backup quarterback here. Essentially, it's my Kirkpatrick is what it is, or Fitzpatrick, Ryan Fitzpatrick, right there. Like
yeah,
it's my guy. I'm just gonna
it's-
plug in to plug in.
so it's basically it's been around forever.
Yeah.
I mean, it'll get the job done in a pinch, but it's not necessarily who you want.
It's not something that you want consecutively.
And just to be
That makes
clear,
sense.
like you've got good ones and bad ones out there too. Like
Oh,
it
yeah.
depends on the
Oh,
location.
yeah.
Like I will grant you that there are some shitty ass Pizza Huts out there, but if you find the good ones, I mean, to me, there's nothing better. I mean,
So, what do you guys think about Papa John's? Because Papa John's used to be one of my favorite pizza places. I don't know why. Over the last few years, I've just not been eating that as much. Maybe it's just convenience or whatever. But Papa John's is an interesting one to me because it's still actually pretty high quality.
It's pretty good.
I think it's really good. I obviously like it over Pizza Hut. And there was a time period where I liked it over Domino's. So I think it's been consistently above average to good, somewhere in that range right there. So yeah, if I'm thinking about someone who would fit that kind of mold at this point, that's a tough call.
I got one for you.
It's a tough call.
So Papa John's, he's not a quarterback, but Papa John's is my Travis Kelce. It's my go-to, and it's the
Well,
first
you're-
thing I'm looking at.
You're calling it a goat then?
I want my go-to.
Is it one of the goats?
I think it's high up there for me.
That's pretty crazy, man.
There's others way up there, but
That's pretty
for
crazy.
for what we're talking about here, I'd say it's my go-to.
Hmm.
Travis Kelce
Yeah,
is my go-to.
that's-
That's my first look.
Okay, I'm gonna give it. If you're gonna go there, I'm gonna give it to Larry Fitzgerald. Then, so Larry Fitzgerald of pizzas for me because it's also very consistent, but it's not the goat. So I'll give it that.
and I love this discussion because we're going up and down here because you guys hate what I like, and I love what you hate. And you guys, maybe I haven't told you this before. I can't stand Papa John's. Okay, I will eat it. But to me, we talked about Little Caesar getting the job done. It doesn't really do it for me, right? I'll just eat it if it's there, and that's about it. So I'm going to compare Papa John's to somebody who I hated in the NFL, and that's Big Ben Roethlisberger. I hate Papa John's pizza. I can't fucking
I
stand
actually
it.
like that.
And I could not stand fucking Big Ben, especially when he had Le'Veon Bell and Antonio Brown. They fucking owned the Chiefs. Every fucking time they played, I hated his ass. And that's what I think about Papa John's. I can't fucking stand it. Meanwhile, everybody else fucking loves it. So like when you're working for your company and they try to bring you in free pizza and you're always thankful for it, they bring in Papa John's. I don't care if it's free. I hate that shit.
Now my girlfriend loves this one, but what do you guys think of spin pizza?
I like
When you
Squid.
think about spin, you go in there, you normally you get like a salad served with you. You got to sit down in the place normally. It's kind of a sit down pizza place, but when I've had their pizzas, I'm not overly impressed. I think it's kind of boring. I've had much better from to go
I like
places.
it.
I think it's kind of middle of the road. I'm going to give spin a Matt Ryan comparison for me, just because I think it's fine. It's edible. It'll do their job in most cases. I'm thinking about the whole career, obviously, not the current day Matt Ryan, the whole career of Matt Ryan. There was probably a time where it peaked at one point, but it went right back to where it should be. So to me, like spin is just kind of one of those very average pizza places that I can't really get behind.
So Spin Pizza is actually one of my wife's favorites. It's probably in
So
her-
all of our wives and girlfriends all love spin pizza.
yes. It's either
Yeah.
if it's not her favorite, it's in her top 2, and I actually really like it. However, the outer edge of the crust, for whatever reason, it's very difficult to chew. Like it actually sometimes it hurts my gums because it's so like, I don't know, it's just really hard to chew on for some reason. So I'm going to compare Spin Pizza to a former NFL player by the name of Henry Ruggs, who was a really, really great talent.
That's a rough one, man.
Great talent, but very difficult to chew on. What happened in his career?
Yeah, that's
difficult to chew, difficult to
that's
swallow.
tough. I hope we should write next time we write a review. From here on out, guys, whenever we go to Yelp and start writing reviews, we need to compare the restaurant to NFL players,
right?
To really get the point across. Get the point across of what the hell we're trying to say. And next time you write a review for a place like Spin, you need to let them know you remind me of Henry Ruggs.
Spin Pizza to me is more of the overseas style, I guess, would be like more towards the Italy style.
It's kind of the underachiever, though.
But yeah, it's also
great.
Sometimes your go-to when there's nothing else open or in the area. So it's my Martin Grammatica. Closer to that kind of
the
heritage
kicker
there, and we're gonna go kick some game winners. And I think it's actually really good for Spin Pizza there. So
very nice, Tanner.
All right, do we have one more? Maybe we could talk about.
There's no way you cannot talk about this one if you're talking about Kansas City Pizza, guys. Waldo Pizza. Everybody loves Waldo Pizza. You got to go to Waldo if you haven't yet. Go check it out. It's very popular. It's friendly for all people, all sorts of eating, vegans, whatever you want to do. So Waldo Pizza to me, though, it's a little on the pricier edge, but it's consistently good every single time I eat it. Give me Waldo Pizza as my Aaron Rodgers. Of the group.
Okay. So I like that. And I love me some Waldo Pizza. But the problem I have with it is like I think it's their garlic cheesy bread.
Oh, it's so good.
Is so incredibly good that when my wife and I go there, we never order pizza because they do that one thing so incredibly well. We don't even care about the pizza. They do it so well. So I'm going to give you Josh Allen because he does one thing so incredibly well as a runner of the football. Not very good otherwise because he loves to give the ball away. He likes to give the ball away to the other team, but he's an amazing runner. He does one thing very, very well. So that's my Waldo
I like
Pizza.
that comparison because it's like Aaron Rodgers. You have that one target, right? So you have Stephon Diggs. Now Rodgers has Garrett Wilson. So there's your one target.
Well, for news for you guys, I've never eaten at Waldo Pizza, so
you're missing
I guess
out.
my answer I could only give would be Bryce Young. I've never seen him play in the NFL. I've never seen him play. So Bryce Young is my Waldo Pizza right now, but I could always change that down the road. Maybe he'll be my next Jalen Hurts, at this point, but I don't know.
Well, I got one more that I want to throw out there, but I got to defer it to Mike for the NFL player because we can't end the discussion without talking about Chuck E. Cheese pizza, the worst fucking pizza of all time. And Mike, I just want you to tell me if you could give me a player in the current NFL who is the shittiest player in the entire league, because I can't come up with that right now.
Oh,
but
man,
that is what you would compare to Chuck E. Cheese as the shittiest fucking player.
This is gonna take me a minute.
In the NFL. All right. Well, maybe Tanner would like to go. It's probably going to be a punter or
it's your Ronald Jones.
Ronald
like Jones of the league. Right?
Ooh, Ronald Jones. Okay,
he's not that bad.
You're just gonna bounce it around. You're just gonna bounce it around and not play him that much. So
it doesn't. Don't give me the worst player. Just give me a shitty player. Just give me a terrible player.
Yeah, that's. Oh, okay. My Chuck E. Cheese. You guys will get. Tanner's not gonna like this because he's got a hard on for him. But I'm gonna go Sam Darnold because I think Sam Darnold is just a turd.
Wow.
That's fine.
So he'll be my Chuck E. Cheese
because he also bounces around and gets occasional appearances.
That's harsh, man. He could be a starter this year.
I'm not a Sam Darnold fan.
You know what Chuck E. Cheese really is? Josh Rosen.
Yeah,
but he's not in the league anymore, is he? Is he still a backup?
He's still a free agent out there. It's still on the list. So
that's a rough
Josh
one.
Rosen. Okay, I'll give you that.
Yeah, I guess we could go that route.
You had your chance. So much for that.
Yeah. Oh, you know what? Actually, you know who Chuck E. Cheese really is?
Johnny Manziel.
It's Tim Tebow. Tim Tebow is Chuck E. Cheese.
No, I think Johnny Manziel was worse than Tim Tebow. So I'm gonna give it to Johnny.
The reason being at Tim Tebow is that all the kids loved him. So you're Tim Tebow, and all the kids love you.
That's true.
You're a big. Everyone's a big fan.
I think some of the kids really love Johnny Football too.
Probably until he
love
started doing
Johnny
too much
Football.
coke and alcohol and drugs.
Yeah,
and all
too
that,
much
so-
coke.
and all that kind of stuff. And it got to his head eventually. Tim Tebow, though, seems like since day one, all the kids liked him. So, I mean, to me, but also he was a big fucking joke. And so to me, that's what makes Chuck E. Cheese Tim Tebow.
That might have been our best topic ever on the show. I'm glad we did
Yeah.
that.
Next time I eat pizza, I can't wait to think about it. Like, I can't wait to think about while I eat that pizza, what NFL player would this be? While I eat that damn pizza.
Yeah.
So
That's great.
it sounds like a fun time to me. All right, guys. Well, that's our buffoon show basically today.
That's what it was.
And essentially, we're at this point of the year right now. We got a couple weeks of lull. We're waiting around. Fantasy football talk will be starting up here coming up in July. Once we get that rolling, that'll be our focus throughout most of July. Is getting you ready for some pre-thoughts going into the season. I want to spend at least 20-30 minutes per show on some of that stuff, you guys. And then obviously training camp. I mean, we'll be talking camp right after that. So really just a month from now, we'll be in the full swing of things once again. And that doesn't mean we can't do buffoon topics.
There's still a lot of NBA to talk about, still a lot of baseball to talk about. So
Yeah, if you want to talk baseball, we talked baseball earlier. I'd rather mow the yard.
in the humidity,
Oh, yeah.
98 degrees.
I don't want to watch the stupid Royals.
I didn't say Royals talk.
Oh,
There's other baseball topics out there, dude.
right now I'm watching my sports bet, and I'm about to be real nervous here the last 2 outs of the game and see what happens. All right, so let's log off here, you guys. Anyways, I appreciate you guys so much for watching and joining in again, of course. And we'll be back again next week with some more good stuff. And I'll see y'all in the next one.
Outro.